Good morning. For today's video and tying Puget Sound sea run cutthroat flies, I'm going to be tying up kind of a modified Les Johnson's beach fly. If you've never heard of Les Johnson, he's sort of the man, the pioneer. He wrote the book on fly fishing for sea run cutthroat and salmon here in the Pacific Northwest and the Salt. And he's had a huge influence on saltwater fly fishing in general in this area. And this is a pattern of his that I've used sporadically over the years, not a whole lot, but it's one that I plan to fish quite a bit more this fall when I get back from my deckhanding job in Westport. I don't have a lot of time today. I've got a doctor's appointment, a bunch of stuff, so I'm going to try to make this one pretty quick. Here in the next week or 2 to 3 weeks, I'm going to be kind of transitioning down to Westport for the summer and into the fall. And as such, I'm going to keep trying to do videos. I'm going to be working, 7 days a week a lot of the time. But I'm going to keep trying to knock out at least 3 videos a week, and if not more if I can. But I'm going to be transitioning at some point over to some different flies. I'm going to be tying up some salmon flies, some albacore flies, some stuff for surf perch off the beach, which I plan to do while I'm down there. Some lingcod flies. So I'm going to branch out over the summer from the sea run cutthroat flies. So keep an eye out for that. Anyway, I'm just going to jump right into this one. This is, like I said, this is one that I plan to fish a lot this fall. I've been tying up a bunch of these. I've been fishing orange more and more and more. And when it comes to orange patterns, this one is pretty classic. This is not the original recipe. This is tied with mostly synthetics. But there's lots of different versions and variants on his original fly, but the concepts are still the same, the same general colors and profile and so on and so forth. So to get started, I've got a Gamakatsu SC15. This is a size 4. I've been using these a lot more instead of the 6s. They just seem to be a little bit stronger. And I've got some Vivus 10-aught orange thread, and as usual, I'm just going to lay down a thread base. I'm still really tired today. I was out Saturday, out in the boat with some buddies, and it was windy and choppy and just miserable conditions for most of the day. But we got into some real good fishing, so I'm definitely not complaining. I'm just tired still, and I'm kind of sore, and standing in the bow of a 17-foot whaler all day while it bumps around and everything. Man, my thighs and everything are just killing me. Like I'm going to get any sympathy since I got to go fish. So to start for the tail, I'm using, this is Baitfish Emulator Flash. It's made by Hairline. It's pretty neat stuff. I use this quite a bit in saltwater flies. You don't want the tail to be too terribly long on these. Maybe a hook shank, probably actually a little bit less than the length of the hook shank for me, the way I like to. Then I'm going to go with, I'm just going to put in a little bit of Pearl UV Crystal Flash, just because I can't stand to tie flies without it. Probably not really needed. Just kind of do like I usually do and tie one strand in and then on the near side and fold it over, just for a little extra pizzazz, if you will. Wind that up. I'm going to leave some room at the head just so I don't screw myself when it comes to the front portion of this fly. That's something I'm very, very good at. I like to crowd the eye, and it's just a pain. So for the body, I've got some, this is, what color is this? Fluorescent Orange number 31 Petite Estaz. This stuff is, if you watched any of my videos, I tie an awful lot of flies with this stuff. So I'm just gonna wrap a nice little body of this, kind of stroke back the fibers as I go, although with this petite stuff it's not quite as important because it doesn't, the fibers aren't as long and they don't fluff out as much. But orange is a color that I've just, in years past I have not fished a ton, but this year, this last, say, 6 months in particular, I've really added this to my arsenal, and it just has paid off. There's been days when orange is the only color that will work for sea run cutthroat. Okay, so I got that body wound up. I'm going to lay down a little bit of a thread on there since I didn't earlier, just so that this hackle has something to grab hold on. This is just a natural brown saddle hackle that I'm using here. It's the only brown hackle that I had, so I can't remember what the original is calls for, but so I'm going to tie this in. I'm tying this in by the base of the feather, simply because with the way these hackles are, the tips are just really small and I don't get the look I'm looking for. So I'm going to take a few wraps with the hackle. It doesn't take a whole lot because you're kind of going to cover it up with the wing, and I think it's mostly just to add some dark contrast coloring at the front of this fly. So I did like 3 wraps. It's kind of ugly. Maybe I'll do one more. Working with hackle is something I'm not great at, so pardon my ugliness here. But they catch fish, so I don't care. Okay, and I'm going to kind of work the fibers back just to kind of tie them down, and so they're not flared out forward. A little bit more. That will work. And then for the wing, I'm using Senyo Predator Wrap. This is the clear color, white. I believe it's sold as clear. I have been using this stuff in every single fly. If I can come up with an excuse to use it, I'm gonna do so, because it's just love this stuff. Over the weekend, a little rubber-legged clouser that I did a video for a couple weeks ago, tied with this stuff, was just on fire. I couldn't believe how effective that fly was. Chartreuse and white Predator Wrap. So you don't need your wing terribly long, about to the end of the hook shank, maybe even slightly shorter. I like to trim this prior to putting it in. A lot of people will tie it in and then trim. It's totally up to you. It's probably a slightly more difficult when you're tying it in doing it this way. However, I find it's easier to keep a clean head versus trying to cut off the material over the eye of the hook, and then it often leads to frayed out mess and materials covering the hook eye, which is another move I'm really good at. Nothing like grabbing a fly out of your box when fishing is hot and trying to tie it on and you can't thread a your leader through it because you've got the eye so buried in materials. Anyway, I'm just going to whip finish, make sure I don't trap any of these hackle fibers in there. And as usual, I'm going to finish off with some Sally Hansen's, and as usual, you can use whatever the heck you want. Put some right there, kind of where the hackle and the wing is going into the thread. It really helps bind it all in there and make sure it doesn't come out. So there you go. Just a real simple, kind of classic style pattern tied with synthetic materials. Sort of a new-aged version of a real classic sea-run cutthroat fly. Plan to tie up a bunch of these to fish in the fall, especially, you know, November, late October and November. And anyway, give this one a shot. If you haven't already, add on some to your box. If they work for you, leave me a comment. I'd love to hear about it. Thanks for watching.